¿Qué es Matrix? Control. Matrix es un mundo de sueños computarizados, hecho para tenernos controlados. No dije que sería sencillo, solo que sería la verdad.
And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right, lasers now.
El H.A.A.R.P es uno de los varios transmisores de ondas ELF ubicados por todo el mundo. Los Estados Unidos poseen y operan 3 de ellos. Uno en Gacona, Alaska, otro en Fairbanks, Alaska, y uno en Arecibo, Puerto Rico. Rusia posee uno en Vasilsursk, cerca de Nizhny Novgorod. Y la Unión Europea posee uno cerca de Tromsø, en Noruega. Trabajando en conjunto, estos transmisores podrían potencialmente alterar el clima en cualquier parte del mundo, cambiando por completo la ruta del flujo de presión e iniciando enormes tormentas o sequías. Incluso sería posible dirigir huracanes, calentando la atmósfera y creando domos de alta presión que podrían desviar o cambiar el curso de los huracanes.
Last year, I confronted Heizo Takenaka, the former Japanese finance minister, over why he handed over control of the Japanese financial system to a group of American and European oligarchs. He and his envoy told me that it was because Japan had been threatened by an earthquake machine.
We will have an existential shock. A Type 1 civilization has the power of an entire planet. They control the weather. They mine the oceans. They control volcanoes. They control earthquakes. We are now witnessing the greatest transition in the history of the human race. Transition from Type 0 to Type 1. The generation now alive is privileged to see the birth pangs of the birth of a new civilization.
I did not believe it at the time. However, when I started exposing some of their doings, I was told by the Japanese security police that because of what I had said on places like Rense.com, that Niigata City was going to be hit by an earthquake. 2 days later, Japan's largest nuclear reactor was the exact epicenter of 2 earthquakes, both 6.8 in magnitude. That was too much of a coincidence for me. So I started doing research and found out about H.A.A.R.P, H-A.A.R.P.
The blueprint for H.A.A.R.P, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. And what does H.A.A.R.P do? H.A.A.R.P is a large antenna where we beam radio frequency energy up into the upper atmosphere, and we create on a small scale what the sun normally does.
Lasers? Really? To change the weather?
Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts.
And I realized that they really did know how to make earthquakes. And they do it by shooting a billion-watt microwave into the ionosphere, which is a part of the atmosphere that has a lot of energy in it. That pushes the ionosphere up into outer space, and then it rebounds. And the way it rebounds can cause earthquakes.
I chose what's called a phased array antenna for the patents because it can be aimed. Picture holding your microwave oven in your hands with the door open. Then you can move it around and send those microwaves different directions. And for these applications where I wanted precise control of where the power was, I felt that was the best type of antenna to use. And that is the kind that H.A.A.R.P has built. There were some other ideas, both to possibly modify weather and finally to lift a portion of the upper atmosphere further out into space.
El gobierno de los Estados Unidos está firme en su posición de que el H.A.A.R.P es solo una instalación de investigación atmosférica. Pero es más que solo una coincidencia que desde que comenzó a transmitir algunos expertos hayan reportado extrañas anomalías climáticas, incluyendo enormes inundaciones, huracanes y terremotos.
In 1983, I did radio tomography with 30 watts, looking for oil in the ground. I found 26 oil wells over a 9-state area, and 100% of the time was accurate, with just 30 watts of power beaming straight into solid rock. H.A.A.R.P uses a billion watts, beam straight into the ionosphere for experiments. Picture these strings on the piano as layers of the Earth. Each one has its own frequency. What we used to do is beam radio waves into the ground, and it would vibrate any strings that were present in the ground. We might get a sound back like, and we'd say, that's natural gas. We might get a sound back like, and we say that's crude oil. We were able to identify each frequency. We accomplished this with just 30 watts of radio power. If you do this with a billion watts, the vibrations are so violent that the entire piano would shake. In fact, the whole house would shake. In fact, the vibrations could be so severe underground that could even cause an earthquake.
Just like an opera singer can break a glass by singing at a certain level, or by dragging your fingernails on a blackboard, you feel a weird sensation. If they adjust the vibration for the rock underneath their target site, they can do that. The same machine can also heat up subterranean water to cause earthquakes. And remember, a billion-watt microwave. What does microwaves do to water? It heats it up. Now imagine if you put a billion watts into a tropical storm. You could make it much bigger, and you could change the direction it flows in. You know how there's high pressure zones and low pressure zones. Well, high is hot and low is cold. And the hot flows into the cold. And vice versa when there's more of the cold.
When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
H.A.A.R.P can create some of the effects that the sun creates that are similar to the aurora borealis. H.A.A.R.P can paint designs in the sky, if you will. You know, you can take the beam and move it in any pattern that the scientist who's doing an experiment might want to do.
These people are capable of creating the cyclone that hit Myanmar, the tsunami that hit Indonesia, and the earthquake that hit China. Now, after the earthquakes hit Niigata, a member of the Inagawa crime family, which is based in around the U.S. Yokosuka Air Base, and members of the Inagawa family have told me that their big boss is George Bush Sr. In other words, they work for Skull and Bones. And they invited me to a so-called UFO gathering where they showed me the video of this blob. They told me it was a UFO, but it was obviously, to me anyway, a plasma weapon, or a ball of heat created by something like a billion-watt microwave. And I predicted in my blog that there would be videos of lights found above China before the earthquake. And those videos then appeared on the internet after I predicted they would. And furthermore, a Taiwanese satellite detected a 50% drop in the ionosphere, in the amount of electric energy in the ionosphere above the earthquake zone. Now, a 50% drop would be exactly what would happen with H.A.A.R.P. It would push the ionosphere up, and then it would slam back down.
设备思想的人能要出吧？
这东西是个方向问题，你大几个方能看到？
就光线里折射嘛，太阳折射，就是用在折射的太阳光幕，应该就是。
Suscríbete gratis y activa la campana, dale like y comparte el video. Nos encontramos en el próximo contenido.